Tom and I are from Rhatigan and Company, one of Ireland's leading building contractors, with over 60 years in the construction industry. We have offices in Galway, Sligo, Cork, Dublin and London. Our management team are made up of highly experienced and trained staff. We have experience in the traditional build, design and build, and PPP experience. We've established relationships with clients, design teams, suppliers, subcontractors throughout the country. Those are some of our projects. Tom and I are part of the Rhatigan and Company BIM management team. Tom is Quality, Environmental and Bid Manager, and I am the BIM Implementation Manager. So we're going to talk about the PAS 1192, and we're going to start with the information delivery cycle and the EIR. So the EIR is the pre-tender document setting out the information to be delivered, the standards and the processes to be adapted by the supplier as part of the project development process. The EIR is incorporated into the tender documents to enable the supplier to produce their initial BIM execution plan, from which their proposed approach, capabilities and capacities can be executed. The development of the EIR starts either with the assessment of existing assets, leading to the development of the employer's needs, or directly to the employer's needs if no existing assets or asset information model is to be considered. So some of the items included in the EIR are the level of detail, so in the information management, the level of detail, the training requirements, the model management and the naming convention, the coordination and clash detection, the collaboration process, the construction design management, security requirements, schedule of specific information to be included or excluded from the model, the file constraints, the size of the model files, the file format, the compliancy plan, the coordinates, the agreed origin to place the geographical model, and the schedule of software formats including the version numbering. The commercial management, the exchange of the information workstations, the client's expected purpose for the information provided in the model, the schedule of software formats, the version numbering to be used by the supply chain, the responsibility matrix for the model, the schedule of standards and guidance documents, the schedule of any changes to the standard rules and responsibilities, and the competency assessment, which details the competency assessment, the changes to associated tender documentation, and the BIM tender assessment details. So an objective of BIM Level 2 is to minimise the impact on the existing constructing methods and the relationship between the documents used for the information management. So some of the documents we have are the project information plan, the project implementation plan. It's submitted at pre-contract award to convey each potential supplier's capacity. The task information delivery plan is submitted by each task team working on the project to set out each team's responsibility for the delivering of information. The responsibility matrix setting out the relationship between the disciplines and the production of information or models. And the master information delivery plan collates all these DITPs against the construction programme. And then the BIM execution plan is submitted firstly at pre-contract to address the issues raised in the EIR, and then in more detail in the post-contract award to explain the methodology and the delivery of the project using BIM. So the information delivery procurement, starting with BIM. The EIR requests that the bidders shall submit details of their approach to project information management to determine the supplier's proposed approach, capabilities, capacities and compliance to meet the EIR. The BEP is usually developed in two phases, the pre-contract BEP and the post-contract BEP. The pre-contract BEP enables the employer to determine if the requirements within the EIR are achievable, allowing for adjustment and negotiations. The post-contract BEP will be resubmitted confirming the supply chain's capabilities and the master information delivery plan. All relevant parties agree and commit to this BEP. The production of the pre-contract BIM execution plan. The contents of this pre-contract BEP consists of everything that's included in the EIR went through, plus the following information: the project implementation plan, the project goals for collaboration and information modelling, major project milestones consisting with the project programme, and project information model delivery strategy. The project implementation plan. This is a statement relating to the supplier's IT and HR capabilities to deliver the EIR. The BIP shall be submitted as part of the initial BIM execution plan by the organisations bidding for the project. The project implementation plan includes the supply chain's capabilities summary forms, which compiled of the supplier's building information management assessment, the supplier's information technology assessment, and the supplier's resource assessments. These assessment forms have become part of J.J. Rhatigan's quality documentation for the procurement process and are completed by all the appropriate organisations within the supply chain to determine their competency and their understanding of BIM. These forms are based on the CPI assessment, which are available online. The Supplier Building Information Management Assessment. Our assessment forms include the gateway questions, the willingness to exchange data and the quality of data to be exchanged, the BIM analysis, so their understanding of BIM, the BIM project experience, which highlights up to 3 projects where the benefits of BIM have been realised, and the BIM capabilities to identify the training and supports requirements. The Supplier Information Technology Assessment, completed by the supply chain's organisation's IT department to demonstrate their information exchange capabilities and their IT maturity. The assessment form includes general information to show that the electronic data and the information the company is willing to exchange. The technical information on software and systems to show that the IT system and procedures are mature and robust. The Supply Resource Assessment is used to assess the organisation's current resource capability and capacity. And then we have the Supply Chain Capabilities Summary Form. And this allows us to facilitate the rapid comparisons of the information within the IT and resource assessment forms provided by each organisation. The information delivery for the post-contract award. So the production of the contract award BEP. And the purpose of the BEP is to facilitate the management and the delivery of the project. The content shall include everything that's requested by the EIR, plus the following information. So under management, you have the roles, responsibilities and authorities, the major project milestones within the project, project information model delivery strategy, the survey strategy, including the use of point clouds, light detecting and ranging, and global navigation satellite systems, existing legacy data use, approval of information, and project information model authorization process. The planning and documentation. Revised BIP confirming the capabilities of the supply chain. The agreed project process for collaboration and information modelling. The agreed matrix and responsibility across the supply chain. The task information delivery plan, the master information delivery plan. Then the standards, methods and procedures. So the volume strategy, the PIM, the origin and the orientation, this file naming convention, the layer naming convention were used, the agreed construction tolerance, the drawing sheet templates, annotation, dimensions, abbreviations and symbols, and the attribute data, and then the IT solution. So the software version, the exchange format, and process and data management systems. So I'm going to pass over to Tom, who's going to go into more detail on the BEPs.
Thank you very much, Michelle. So when a tender is received by J.J. Rhatigan Company, the first thing we do is we assess the documentation for the employer's information requirements, or the EIR. If no EIR is, if we don't receive an EIR, we request one. And if it's not issued, J.J. Rhatigan Company produces and agrees the EIR with the ER and the client. So PAS 1192 then provides the framework as to how we write our BEPs. So if we go back again to the information delivery cycle in relation to PAS 1192 Part 2, what I've done here is overlaid this diagram to simplify it and break it down, and to see where the BEP sits in the process and the inputs and the outputs from the BEP. So on the top right hand side there, we see the employer's information requirements. When we receive that, we produce the BEP, be it the pre-contract BEP or post-contract BEP or BEP. On contract award then, we produce what's known as the MIDP, the Master Information Delivery Plan. And from that then, the model grows throughout the different stages and finally arrives at the Asset Information Model, or the AIM. So if we peel back the layers then, we see here that this triangle here, the first stage, 7 stages in the process, and what happens here is we have a concept, and design development then grows right out throughout the build process, finally arriving at handover, which is stage 6. Stage 7 then deals with the AIM, or the Asset Information Model. Essentially, the Asset Information Model is used for life cycle, planned and preventative maintenance, and so on. The information data exchange then, essentially what happens here, this is represented by the green footballs. What happens here is we have inputs and outputs from the BIM model. And then the last stage is the client decisions here are based on information extracted from the model. So that's essentially the information delivery cycle on PAS 1192 Part 2. So the EIR content then, just a quick overview, there's 3 basic areas: technical, management and commercial. In technical we have software platforms, data exchange formats, etc. Management deals with standards, roles and responsibilities, delivery strategies for asset management. And commercial deals with data drops, COBE, and the BIM deliverables. So when we're writing a BEP then, essentially it's project specific, depending on the nature of the project, but we have 6 main streams within a BEP plan. Section 1 deals with project information. Section 2 deals with information required by the employer's information requirements, or the EIR. Section 3 deals with management. Section 4, planning and documentation. 5 is standards, method and procedures. And Section 6, IT solutions. And when we're writing the BEP plans as well, we integrate PAS 1192 Part 3, which we'll have a quick look at later. So the first stage in the BEP writing, we have our project information. We input this into the BEP. And then the project scope, which deals with contract and delivery type, project stages, project phasing. If there's any particular phasing on the project, we integrate this into the BEP. Approximate site areas and approximate gross internal areas, and a project description. Second part of the BEP is we deal with the information required by the employer's information requirements, or the EIR. 13 stages here. We have planning of work and data segregation, dealing with clause 5.3a part 3. Coordination and clash detection, clause 5.3a4. Data segregation. The project information model, or is abbreviated to PIM. The project information manager then is responsible for the tracking of BIM models and their status. Model linking, validation prior to issuing for collaboration, clash detection, clash detection reports and resolving clashes, communications, information transfer strategies, meetings, the collaboration process, health and safety, compliance plan and QA procedures. If we look at meetings there, we have BIM kick-off meetings, we have BIM enabled design workshops, we have BIM health checks or BIM audits, clash detection workshops and BIM evaluations. That's where we provide demonstrations of the BIM model to the client as a visualization tool. So if we have a quick look then at clash detection, there's various different streams in this. What we do here is we set out who's responsible for what and the tolerance that is required. So a brief overview of this would be we run clash detection tests in relation to architecture versus structure, ceilings, partitions, etc. The structure versus the architecture, columns, beams, drop beams, floors, opes, that kind of thing. Services versus the structure, cable trays, duct runs, so on and so forth, and the space requirements for same. Facade, the facade versus the structure and the facade versus the architecture. And civils, the integration of civils in relation to how it interfaces with the structure and how it interfaces with the architecture. Part 3 then of our BEP deals with the management in relation to clause 721A. In here we define the roles and responsibilities and authorities, the major project milestones dealing with project phasings, critical paths, so on and so forth is integrated here, project information delivery strategy, service strategy, existing legacy data, approval of information and the PIM authorization process. Section 4 then, when we write this section, we're dealing with planning and documentation in relation to clause 721B. In here we revise the project information implementation plan, agree the project processes for collaboration and information modelling, agree the matrix of responsibilities across the supply chain, be it our design team, if it's a design and build, our mechanical, electrical subcontractors, facade subcontractors, so on and so forth. So we assess their responsibilities there. Going on from that then, we produce TIDPs, which is the Task Information Delivery Plan, and these are produced by each Task Information Manager. And we collate all those TIDPs in and formulate the Master Information Delivery Plan, which is known as the MIDP. So that deals with Section 4. We move on then to Section 5 of the BEP plan. This deals with standards, methods and procedures in relation to clause 721C. In here we deal with volume strategy, the PIM, project information model, origin and orientation, the file naming convention, the layer naming convention, agreed construction tolerances for all the disciplines, the drawing sheet templates, annotations, dimensions, abbreviations and symbols, and the attribute data. So all this then is done in compliance with COBE, which is a standard BS 1192 Part 4. So COBE then is the collaboration of production information. So if we look at a building then through COBE, we have a facility, we have zones, floors, types, systems, space and components. COBE then, the idea behind COBE then is that all the key information is pulled into one format and shared between the construction team at different stages in the project. So we integrate the requirements of COBE when we're writing the BEP. Essentially this is a spreadsheet. So section 6, in the last section of the BEP deals with the IT solutions in compliance with clause 721C. In here we have software versions, we deal with exchange formats, we integrate processes and data management systems, hardware, technology and infrastructure requirements, reliance on data, software for all stakeholders, be it our design team members or the different subcontractors involved, the project-specific BIM content and the stakeholder BIM software expertise. Presently we're using Revit and Navisworks for clash detection. So then we have the BEP, what are the outputs? What's this document doing for us and what does the client and the contractor get from this? So I've listed some of the outputs here, the BEP and the BIM process. It's asset management or AIM, the architectural and structural analysis. We'll carry out different energy analysis, lighting analysis, mechanical analysis, programming, quants, cost, health and safety and sustainability, BREEAM and lead evaluation. Of particular interest as environmental manager, I have particular interest in sustainability and the BREEAM and lead evaluation and how we integrate this into the BEP. So we integrate then PAS 1193 Part 3 into our BEPs. Essentially this deals with the specification for information management from the operational phase of the asset. In other words, while we're writing the BEP and integrating the operational phase, or the life cycle is the key element here, the life cycle of the asset. So in here we deal with the asset information model, how we integrate planned and preventative maintenance into the BEP, how we integrate repairs, if there's future extensions, and make allowance for that in our BEPs, and refurbishment, or finally, if the client, at the end of the life cycle, we have to look at demolition, and the construction phase starts all over again. The two main environmental streams then, we integrate these into our BEPs. The two main environmental streams would be LEAD, which is Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, and BREEAM, the British Research Establishment Environmental Assessment Methodology. These are incorporated into our BEPs and BIM models. And this results in us delivering buildings which are more sustainable and have lower running costs, which is of huge benefit to our clients. In 2014, we won the Sustainable Green Project of the Year for Medtronic Customer Innovation Centre. And this year, a couple of months ago, we won the Sustainable Project for the Life Course Studies building in UIG in Galway. Just to look at the NUIG Galway here, what we've done here is a design and build contract. A particular innovation on this particular project was it had 17 elevations, and what we've done here is that we had a window in every room, so we made use of natural daylight, and what that done was reduce the running costs for the client. We saved in terms of 25% energy savings on the running costs for that particular project, and we implemented various water saving technologies such as rainwater harvesting, restrictors on flush for toilets, taps, so on and so forth, resulting in a 22% reduction in water savings. So going forward then, these are the standards that we implement in our BEPs and BIM process. As quality manager then, when we're writing the BEPs, I integrate the BERSA soft landings into the overall process, and this helps us to deliver buildings through the BIM process which are of very high quality standard. We implement the handover, the training and demonstrations, and a key element here is the aftercare process, which is the deals with the asset information model. So then we look at buildings that are not designed in BIM. So what can be done here then is that we can prepare a BEP, we can carry out a 3D laser scan or a point cloud, and from that then we can produce a BIM model. And from that BIM model then we can input information which is COBE compliant, and then we can use this for facilities management such as planned and preventative maintenance. All this is done in a common data environment. Just to look then at the UK Construction 2025 targets. In our UK operations, we integrate the targets for 2025, and essentially these are broken down into three areas. There's a 33% target for lower costs. Now this deals with the initial cost of construction and also the cost of the life cycle of the asset. A target then that we implement in our BEPs is a faster delivery. Now the 50% here deals with the initial concept right the way through design development and the construction phase. And also a target we implement which ties in with our sustainability, LEED and BREEAM parameters is there's a target there for lower emissions, reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 50%. So those targets, we're well on track to reach those targets by 2025 in our UK operations, and what we're doing as well is we're implementing those targets in our BEPs in our Irish operations. So thank you very much, and hand you over now.